Hello, this is Richard Hewitt with Lost Tribes Cafe. There's a story that I like to tell. I was up in Kyrgyzstan and been there for a while. I'd learned the language and seen the similarities between the good book and the Kyrgyz culture. So I went up to a village and I met some young men outside the village, started talking to them, and after a while I asked them to take me to the individual who knew the Kyrgyz culture better than anyone else, the Kyrgyz culture and history better than anyone else in the village. So they started to take me to the mullah. And while we were walking there, they suddenly changed directions and said, no, there's actually someone who knows the culture better than the mullah. They took me to the house of an old man, and we talked for a little bit. I started asking him about the god-guest culture and the Kyrgyz, or the wanderer who wrestles with the angel. And he told me some things I'd already known, a few new things about the traditions and culture. And then I asked him if I could read from the Bible, from the Holy Book, and he said no, he wouldn't touch it because he was afraid of polluting his ancestral line and his descendants after him. So he said he wouldn't read it. So I asked if I could read from it to him, and he agreed. I started reading about the time where God comes to Abraham's camp, and he recognized immediately all the similarities between that story and the God-guest traditions, the Kyrgyz God-guest traditions. So he couldn't believe that I was reading from the book that he was told to hate, that he was told was foreign, he was told he couldn't read, he was told it was going to pollute his ancestral line. He couldn't believe I was reading his own traditions and culture from that. Eventually he was so overcome with curiosity, he took the book and grabbed it out of my hands 20 minutes after saying that he wouldn't touch it. And then he read the story for himself and was absolutely amazed. After that, I had to grab it back out of his hands because I wanted to show him the Kyrgyz, the wanderer, which is in Genesis 32, where Jacob wrestles with the angel. And in that story, again, I was fumbling. I've got dyslexia, so I don't read very well. I was fumbling through the story, and he was just impatient with me. He grabbed it back and he had to read it for himself. And again, he's reading his own culture, his own traditions right from this book that he's been taught all his life was foreign. So it's absolutely amazing. At the end of the time together, he asked if he could have the book. I had some notes in it, so I didn't want to give it to him, so I said no. But I did send him a copy when I heard someone was going back to that village. And then I met him years later, and he said, thank you so much for that book. It's the best book that that's ever been given to me. He was still very secretive of it. He didn't tell others that he was reading it, but it was an exciting time. So just a story from Richard Hewitt with Lost Tribes Cafe. God bless you.